Just as Sylvester had said at one time, you walk into your college or classroom and you take the test that you actually wrote. But the concept is inconceivable by the human mind. And since you live that mind, you rely on that mind. We want you to know that you understood that conversation in your beingness. But the desperation of the mind to know itself, always seeking knowledge of identity. Well, that's the game, isn't it? We're tired of the game. I'm sure you are too. Turn away from the game for a while and let's explore ourselves, shall we? We offer you that language as a knowing inherited in every single one of you because it is contained within the DNA. And please don't be obtuse and actually think you know the DNA, because the DNA is billions and billions of years old and couched in a multitude of species within that frequency range of the DNA. All of the alien DNA in you, all of the timelines in you, all of the memories, the billions of lives, the infinite number of lives in your strand of DNA, stored neatly an infinite number of, let's say, bits of information. And those are going to be awakening every day as you change your frequency, because that's what unlocks your DNA. Frequency. Not some fucking magical gift, not some permission from some idea other species. Are you fucking kidding me? From you. Let's not talk too much about this. God, oh, what a pain in the ass. I know, right? So let's understand that you guys are your own worthiness. That worthiness changes vibration. You want to understand creation? You need to think in terms of vibration only, not raising your vibration through the mind that polarizes itself, because that's an attitude, approach, a tact, a direction of accomplishment, goal, which means now you're less than, which is lack, so you don't get the awakening. You get repetition. How many of you have been awake for 10 years doing the same shit? Stop. Yes, no, I know. Yere tu. Chamiyata. Yeko. Imniti. So, as you change your frequency by choosing the worthiness of you, and when you are disturbed by your fears, then you bathe in them, you swim in them, you embrace in them, you paint your body like you're going into war, you cover yourself in those fears, in those obligation belief systems, you blood up and you go to battle with yourself, but not in a win-win, in a surrender, in an absolute acceptance of your own realization. This is a repeat. The only reason why I'm doing this is because that's you. And by the way, nothing is a reminder, because the memory is created in the moment. So anyways, we offer this to you because we want you to go beyond the edge again tonight, which we're going to get to, but the foundation is in play. And the language is a language that's encouched in your history. You live in a space-time continuum. So in that, it's all happening in the now, just from let's say, a particular different point of view. So in that idea of let's say, the language that may have sounded mysterious, there's a knowing familiarity within you. And a lot of you have your own light languages. And then I've seen and watched some of you dance in pride that you don't know what it means. If you can hear this and you can translate this language, if you understand this language, then why wouldn't you understand that language? Because your mind doesn't have the knowledge, so you don't trust. So you have to let go of the mind, the one that looks for causality, the one that judges its own changes and is shocked in awe at its own beauty. Yes, that's the journey, I get it. But not tonight. We don't need to fuck with bullshit tonight, do we? No. We want to accept that language. And you know the story already, because right now you're in another now, and this is right now a memory. That language, isn't it a memory? So you're in and now exploring your memory and remembering the language that you already know. Taking the journey. All of you know that language. Just like you know English, Espanol, Greek, German. Any language upon your earth. You know them all. Because they're written. They're inscribed in the idea of you. But you can't gain that knowledge, can you? Is it solely because of frequency? No. Does frequency help? Of course. But what needs to be in play? Trust. It's like Roxy first started to channel, and she's taught some people to channel. Some people in the class tonight have been learned. It's a matter of trusting the thing that comes in. There's no one to prove it. There's no one to say yes. Who has ever needed anyone to tell them their truth? Every human, that's who. Only humans. Until you realize the self that is reflecting itself as an object, questioning your own self, doubting yourself. I don't give a fuck about other people right now. Let them go. If they're asleep, give them a fucking pillow. If they're awake and they're preaching to you, get out of their goddamn church. Get the fuck into your own kingdom and do your work. So if you're looking at yourself as something, and you're noticing yourself, and that's the change. That's what changes frequency. By looking at the belief system and having the humility to swallow that pride, the brutal honesty to accept that's your truth, and the absolute courage to choose something new and change frequency so that language that we spoke, Parisian, is known just like this is being translated, but you're actually not translating that. See, and Lucia speaks Spanish and English. She learned English. So sometimes she translates it from Spanish, English to Spanish in her mind. So it takes her a minute. But really what she's doing is doing that as a permission because her approach is that her native language in time, in order, was English. Then she learned Spanish. As Roxanne is learning Spanish as well, English was her first language. Actually, Greek and English were her first languages. And Germany, a couple years later. So she has to translate, but she really doesn't have to. If she lets go of translating, then she gets English as a native language, just like you guys will have Parisian like a native language. Because they're all in you. So when you stop thinking about the image and creating the image for prideful purposes of attracting attention. Prideful purposes. Is this all, Roxanne? Prideful purposes of drawing attention to you because you have absolutely no worthiness. Does anyone remember Bashar saying you live in your own universe? Well, you do. You're the only one there as your truth. Now, everyone else is we. And they're all here for the I. All of you are here for me, and all of me's and everyone else's is here for you. That's simple. So what are you so busy about in the objectivity? Because that maintains frequency. If you keep going over and acting the behavioral aspects the same way, keep bringing up shit that keeps happening 10, 15, 20 years ago, and keep focusing on them, you don't know how to let them go. What? Don't fucking lie to yourself. There's enough information out there that you have to know by now. You can't be operating in this frequency field without knowing how to understand and relate to your belief system and transcend them. All of you know that. Now, is it hard? No, it's a choice. Is it excruciatingly scary than fucking hell? Yes. Absolutely, because it's a master class. Remember, you're committing a suicide. You're killing your entire way you've been taught to live. And now you have no direction, no fucking book, no handbook. Handbook for the recently deceased, remember that from Beetlejuice, Roxanne says? No book. This is all on your own, courage of now to choose. When everything was taken away from you, including all of your languages, all of your knowings, all of your abilities, all of your connectivities. And you grab on these little things in here and people tell you things and you grab on as truth and you explore them with distraction. But I'm not talking about the fantasy and the image. I'm talking about the worthiness. And that worthiness is what changes vibration. So say you get a problem again and you choose the problem again because you're obligated to the problem. Why do you think your life's going to change? So we offer you this language, Parisian, to challenge you, not in a way of learning, but to show the abruptness of your own belief system in front of you. I don't want you to get it. I'm not challenging you to beat it. I'm challenging your belief system with an idea of an unknowable. And the unknown is available now. Always now. But when you choose the comfort and security, the Linus blanket of the known, whether it is painful or fucking objectivity, and it provides an idea of an image of victimization or heroship and everything in between is irrelevant. That's the habit. The unknowable is the creator. Does anyone really believe that they have to work themselves back to God? I would like to know who the fuck stripped you of rights as a creator when the law is all or one, one or all. Where is the inequality in you? Your mind, your beliefs. So when you start to notice that shit, let it go and work on your authority, your authentic choice of isness. Vibration occurs in the idea of attraction. Attraction offers change, wisdom, knowledge, unbeknownst to you, for no fucking reason, out of the blue, always getting more awesome every fucking day until you shit on it because you're not allowed to be that awesome because no one told you you're allowed to. I get that. But I don't give a fuck about that. I'm here to show you that your nows are full of the unknowable, frequency opportune to change. But you look at it as, where's the purpose? Where's the meaning? Where's the happiness? Where's the positivity? How do I avoid the stop? We want to talk about attraction change. That language shows you the stifling idea of the belief systems you have. If anyone wants to take a crack at it and go ahead and translate that entire conversation, I would love you to. It's not a difficult conversation. Most of you got some of it anyway, but you don't have any maybe courage or trust in yourself about that entire conversation. Because it seems to the ego mind that is the first line of defense, your reality. And that reality feels real. Therefore, it's reality. Now, you don't know the Parisian language. And some of you have light languages, but you have no idea what you're saying. When we mean light language, it's the same thing as a language here on earth, spoken in a frequency with idea, words, written language, the whole thing. It's an entire language, just like French, just like Icelandic. All of it's there. Cantonese, Funese, all of it. Parisian and all the other languages you guys know are the same because you know it all. There might be a journey with it because most of you were looking for the stunning idea of the shot in the arm, and all of a sudden I know everything. Newsflash. God has never, ever been or nor will be all-knowing. God, creation, all of you, the one we are, is always knowing. So if you're in a now that contains an element of time for the experience, then you're going to remember things along the way. So don't have your egoic mind expect, if I don't get it all in its entirety, then what is it and I don't know it, so throw it out. No. Take the journey. This isn't about the change. This is about you. How do you relate to reality? Where is your focus? How much time are you spending not in your now? Doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck. I am not your goddamn God. I'm just letting you know there's always a different reality to choose. And it lies in here, inside of you, in the kingdom. It doesn't lie in external ideas of polarization so you can feel alive through your pain, through the suffering of others. Leave them. Leave them alone. Let them go. Get back into you. This is going to be here for a while. Your reality is no more normal right now than it will be next year. Don't think for 1 second that this shit's over. You guys wanted to wake up, so you frequencied yourself to awakening. The awakening is not the idea of what's happening. The awakening is within you. How do you create a 4D Earth if you're focused on 3D bullshit? If you're always focusing on the memory of yourself and the constitution of the stand against yourself objectified, then how do you go to a 4D Earth? Not a 5D Earth, a 4D Earth. Third density, fourth density, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, whatever you do. You're going to a light world, right? You're going to space-time. Time-space. Why are you trying so hard to fix this world when it's not broken? Or is that just the habit of you? Isn't that your memory? That's what you're relying on? See, the memory doesn't have any room in the now until you focus on it as the truth of the now, so your now becomes your memory and you live that accord. So since your memory does not have, on your earthbound experience, the Parisian language, Draconian, Syrian, Andromedan, Anunnaki, the tens of billions of languages you know, all encouched in your DNA, well, why would you think your memory would contain that? They don't. That's what the now provides. Yes, you're going to have to go through a little bit of fucking shedding. Roxanne will kick your ass into 3 ways from Wednesday to get you there. So I promise you that. And then you'll see the beauty of the now that contains no validation of imagery. The self-explored becomes the universe. Just because you're not flying on a spaceship or flying to the idea of the moons of Endor and enjoying an idea of a let's say, an endless evening under the purple moons they have there, doesn't mean that the absolute intrigue about the self-remembrance is not present. Of course it's present, because the focus is on I am instead of I am not. The objectified self is a belief system created off the culture of humanity, divisioned by the individual experience of its own culture, birthed. And then it dominates that with the idea of pride and prejudice. And then it creates a personality, and you're using that to formulate a life. That's not wrong, but that's the fast asleep. The awakeners don't call themselves awakened. They don't come to the rescue of you because you're not in peril. The awakeners put their head down and go to fucking work on themselves. Enlightenment is represented, not led. You got churches all over the planet, and now the churches are changing definitions. They're still trying to be leaders, as if you guys are in jeopardy. Who the fuck's in jeopardy? I think Max said it, Roxanne said. It's like, why do you care about anyone? Are you fucking kidding me? Don't you realize they're creators? No one's going away. How can you care about anyone? That's a human emotion. That keeps you human. I don't care if you fucking care if you want to care. Care. I don't give a shit. But you'll stay caring. And you'll every time you do that, then you'll stay in that frequency, and that'll shut down your frequency what? Vibration. What does that do? Keeps your reality the same. I want you to change. For you. So we offer this language, this Parisian language. And you know it within yourself. So how do you start understanding it? By accepting you know it without any proof. And let it talk to you. See, effort was a human thing. Effortless is attraction. Your reality that you are now is your idea of your truth. Otherwise, you can't have it here. So if you're looking at your reality, I'm wondering if you can look at it and why it's giving you an emotional status, and also what's available there to go beyond the emotional status into the motion, into the fluidity, into the slipstream of I am, of the everlasting discovery. What are you afraid you're not going to be able to produce abundance? What are you afraid you're going to get criticized? You're going to lose something? Who are you going to lose? Your husbands, your wives, your kids, your jobs? Well, if you are afraid of that loss, then you are going to create the idea of the prevention of that loss, and you'll stay human. So the human keeps showing up. You want the creator to show up? Well, you got to stop being human. Anyways. So we're going to move into a different field now. So we have a good foundation set. Be vigilant. Be diligent. Be observant. A master observer of your own belief systems running amok in the distraction world, trying to give you something to feed off, and it is fucking tempting. Yes, it's a tempting motherfucker because it feels so natural until you notice, it's like, damn, why am I saying that? What the fuck am I doing? Why am I doubting? Why am I uncertain? You got a big purchase in front of you. My God, I don't know if I should do this. What if I do this and then I run out of money in the future? What future? If you choose worthiness now, what do you think your creator self's going to fail you? You think you're going to get failed by vibration? The reason why your life is because of vibration. You want your life to change, you got to start changing the worthiness relationship to the self. So you make that purchase with no fears of the future. Oh, fears are running through you. Of course, you accept them. But you're not going to choose the fear, and then now you're going to choose the worthiness. And that screams to attraction. Change. Not the change you expect. The change you can't imagine. Because the only thing you can imagine is your fucking memory. If you rely on that approach. Oh, yes. Absolutely. So the Parisian language. Koshna, Moshna, Toshna, Kania, Tokashna, Mayati, Amatora. It's in you. And it's not word for word. They speak in groups. They speak in ideas. There's no rhyme or reason like Latin, Greek, and Espanol, Deutsch, English. But you still know it. So don't use those tools. Who's coming? Okay. Stand by. Greetings, everybody. Some of you remember me. My name is Sylvester. Yes, I will send you the class, Gabriel. I want to talk about versions of you. I need you to understand that the version of you is not the entirety of you. Let's, what do you got, Roxanne? I'm good. You've been good? Yeah. Okay. Good to see you. I haven't been around much. Your hair's pulling. Let's look at the version of you for a second. So I would like you to imagine this pencil as a choice, a truth spoken. And that is an expression that's put out by vibration. 360-degree bubble. I guess maybe a couple of you watch Bashar. He's a cute little fella, isn't he? He's like, yeah. Putting out a pulse. And that energy goes out into all that is. And that energy is a truth. There's no falses in creation. They're all true. It's the perception of you that can create a false or anyone else. But remember, that's human though. Anyways, so let's cool. Good fucking. So let's look at that self that you are. So say you're at an interaction and you create and say something. And you say something and then that vibration goes out. See, that's a self. And that self is not identified by a human body and everything that you imagine yourself to be. All it is a simple vibration of truth. It's your way to see reality. That's all it is. Yes, Sylvester, yeah. So, you got a new chair, Roxy. Look at that. Very nice. So, that vibration is now being passed through everybody. Do you realize they don't look at it as you? Maybe consider it a fragrance. Maybe the rose puts off a smell. See, that's the rose's version of itself. You get the experience of that truth called the fragrance. When I express, Sylvester expresses, you're getting the experience of the I am, but not a self-contained. So what happens when you make a decision in your life and that self is no longer true to you? It doesn't disappear. And it doesn't remain the self on another timeline because it's not a whole package. Because you're made up of an infinite number of individually expressions. Your skin, your hair, your everything. Every part of you is an infinite number of experiences. The physical world around you as well as everything you interact with. This is 10 gazillion fucking singularities in this fucking mug. Not even to put the T in there. Don't you understand? Everything is consciousness and everything is to the most minute size. So when you're expressing a self and someone else on another timeline made a different choice, that's not you. You're always you. But you're playing out a different timeline. So who's energizing that self? Well, all the infinite number of selves are part of that. And the whole self that's energizing that, yes, you're here, no, you're here, isn't you. That's consciousness energizing that in an undefined reality. That has nothing to do with you because you're this truth attracting this experience. Some people are so afraid of their other selves or distracted with the fascination of all of their selves. Their selves, all of your choosings, all of yourselves that you are food for all that is to know themselves. You see that? You're the unconditional vibration that is unknowable flowing into all of consciousness. Just like every now, all of consciousness is flowing in through you. This is the endless material of the unknowable available to you all the time that is truly already flowing through you, but 99% of you choose to look at your memory as the truth. Therefore, the feeling, the encompassing self is maintained. But you're still constantly changing. You just don't define it as changing because you're choosing a reality of same through the memory. So you're using the memory as an interpretation of a reality, and then that memory gives you the experience of that. And we're not talking about the definitions. Don't get fucking confused with the definitions. Not the objects. We're talking feeling. Forget about the fucking objects. Bottled water, racism, riots, COVID. We're not talking about that. Don't get distracted with that shit. You like the t-shirt? I know. Yeah. Roxanne brought Esmeralda in. She's the fucking witch now, isn't she? So anyways, by the way, that crystal dragon sculpture was fantastic, Anna. Fantastic. So those selves are not your responsibility. You're not missing that. Because conscious is one organism. No one misses anything. You'll run across every ounce of creation forever because we're constantly changing. But see, the lack, the loss, the ego that relies on its own doubt to experience itself as the image maintained because that's what it believes it is, it will fight for its doubt and then have doubt about its choices. And then you maintain a new self. You're still changing, but you have fear. Okay, Roxanne has worked hard on her fear, but not hard as an effort. She's used Max and Lucia, and all the students and all of you. She's used you to know herself, to yell and scream and get upset and cry and be sad and be happy and live the fucking grandness of humanity. The absolute exquisite mastery of it. But that shit's done now. Now she's in her world, in her mind, diving into the depths. She had issues with me because she couldn't find me the way I was. Well, I'm not the same because I'm not an identity. I'm a truth to myself. And I express Sylvester, but I'm not confined to an identity. I'm not the same self. I'll never be the same self. Just like Roxanne can't be the same self, but she wants to be the same self sometimes because she's afraid of the unknown self. So she uses memory to give her a feeling of comfort. What's comfortable for you guys? Fear. Ain't that a bitch? Fear is very comfortable for you. You'll just fucking spew it out in a moment's notice. You'll just make every excuse. But the master knows that's just fear. And accepts it and moves into the now. Roxanne's taught you this. By the way, guys, everything you need to know is on Roxanne's channel. You don't need to follow Roxanne. You can follow who the fuck you want. But the whole ego system is broken down very nicely. Right there. You can find your way out of this game. And then you're going to notice something. That the game in and of itself is no longer a game. It becomes life. And then you realize you've never left your own life. You've always been there. Oh, magic. Anyways. So, the selves that you are giving me an experience. Whenever you talk, whenever you sleep, whenever you sweat, whenever you anything, I'm getting that vibration of expression. But see, it's not defined. It's a vibration of truth that is undefined and unconditional. And as it passes through me, I'm the experience of that through the singular truth of me. And whatever form I'm relating to it, whether it is spiritual, whether it is light, whether it is in the physical, is irrelevant because I'm not made up of one thing. I'm made up of an infinite number of things. I'm always co-creating a conscious point of view, but I'm just tiny one part of that entire thing. So I'm experiencing, and so is all of me. And what's the end of me? There is none. Okay? So here's the next rung of the ladder. Here's you, and here's all that is. There's no more whole self unless you want that, but that's a memory. There's no more oversoul collective unless you want that, because that's a memory. How about the all is the only thing that's left? The one God is the all gods. The only thing you have is your truth. Roxanne's nose rings are experiencing. Roxanne's glasses, hair, necklace, t-shirt. Every portion of consciousness is a singularity. Who's above Roxanne? Nobody, because Roxanne's all that is. Who's above you? No one, because you're all that is. The singularity is the experiencer of the all, and the all provide the singularity with the endless, unconditional food of forever to know itself. So what are you worried about? Identity? Knowing if you're worthy? See, the body here, Roxanne's body, is not forgotten. This canvas, it's not a canvas, what is it? Fleece? Roxanne's flute, right? These are not forgotten. These are knowing. This pencil, everything. The singularity that's human, a tiny little portion of you that's almost invisible to consciousness, that is all of consciousness at the same time, is the singularity that forgot. But see, humans need to make sense of things. So the journey gave an opportunity to journey in the idea of expansion. So you started up a ladder. That's sign language for progression, Roxanne just said. Very nice, Roxy. So you climb as a reference. But don't you know if you keep using the same references, you're going to keep the same relationship to reality. So at some fundamental time, you got to let go of things that got you where you are. You can do that for yourself. But when you look at something and nostalgic it or rely on it, and it has such a calling and a need, and it gives you an emotional relationship, then you know you're just staring at the ego, which you can still choose. But that's the thing. It's only your truth. It's no one else's. That's the scariest fucking thing in the world. Is to know that everything is yours. Everything is the way you get to see it. And all the stuff in your reality is your relationship. Just because the human doesn't own it doesn't mean it's not yours. It's your truth. That's why it's there. And then you get to change your truth. So you can create a collective oversoul, like Osifius and the Oversoul Collective Fire. Greetings to you. We bid you a good day. I think so. But that's a creative portion of you for Roxanne to step. That's not permanent. Portions of Osifius are scattered among galaxies, starting an infinite number of selves as a planet. But joining those selves in a co-creation to create a point of view of Osifius. And Osifius is one portion of all those points of view. And those points of views are unidentified because no one needs names. Because we're singularity in the idea of truth, but we're not singularity in the idea of defined. Because definition only gives you containment. And containment is finite. There's no finite. But the memory offers you that finite so you can feel identity. You know? So when you start choosing the unknowable, the worthiness, which Roxanne has been talking about for quite a time for herself. Yeah, she bought some stuff on Etsy, you know, she's got her like fucking shit up there now. Yeah, baby. She changed her porch a little bit. She's making herself a little bit more comfortable because she deserves a life on the planet. She deserved the life and now, not to take temperament and time and fear. So she started choosing her worthiness, and her life is only getting better. We're not talking about monetary. We're not talking about success. Are you fucking kidding me? We're talking about a relationship of abundance attracting, not the abundance of defined ideas, the fulfillment of the now, to know her worthiness and remembrance that this is the natural state of being that cannot be denied unless the memory is chosen to deny the self the worthiness of that. Yeah. So she bought a bench, got a pentacle outside and underneath her porch. Got some dried wheat. She's got some mugwort over here. She's witching herself up from a self that she's connecting with to feel comfortable in the house, to make it nice, to make it her vibration reflection. The house does not reflect a nice house for image, which you guys have walked into those houses, right? They're no good. They feel fake. Well, when you walk into a house that's expression from the authentic, you never want to leave because it feels like home. And that's where the enlightenment lies. The enlightenment lies in the one that offers the authentic for the self, not for you, not as a preacher idea, as a representation that you can choose the same. Roxanne chose to lighten herself up, and you guys get here and come and start to lighten yourselves up through choice, not through a guidance or a class or a graduation, not through an idea of fear and have a hope of a future. How can you have a future when everything is here and now except the one that you create out of the memory and the idea of the memory and only providing you with the containment of that memory in the moment? What kind of a future is that? What are you fucking relying on? The future is unknown. But if you choose worthiness, then you know goddamn well it's going to be fucking worthy. But if you don't trust the unknowable God, then you're never going to find out. You're only going to find out death, which wakes you up. So all these stepping stones were just that. But sometimes we got to stop with the stepping stones. Don't you agree? When do you start to take your journey and stop looking for what this is going to do for you and start living I am? Whenever you choose. That's when. And how it plays out is irrelevant. Sometimes Roxanne gets scared and she doesn't know how she's going to go from where she's going. Where are these classes? She's going, God, I feel like doing classes every Wednesday, just like Sly's class. I'm going to start doing that. Where's it going? Who the fuck knows? Who cares? But it's worthy of her. This is her way to know herself. There's nothing tied to it because it's not a defined outcome. It doesn't lie in a purpose. It's an expression of the unconditional now to be known by all who are attracted and choose to participate in the space-time continuum in the idea of this truth. Doesn't matter if you come or not because there's other truths. Everyone's having, what are they having? Their own truth, which is their individual lives. So we see, but she was afraid. Of course she's afraid. She's still working on the human, right? So she doesn't look for an ending. She just embraces the discovery. So here, we're going to give you like this. Don't worry about your oversoul. Don't worry about your higher self. Drop that. It's a rung of the ladder. Now there's I am. And encouched in you is every fiber of matchable attraction, information to provide you with the wisdom, not knowledge, not logic, not the right thing or the wrong thing to do. That's human. With the wisdom of intelligence present in the moment to give you the idea of the truth of yourself. All you have to do is get familiar with that unknowable self. And you know what it doesn't look like? It doesn't look like what you think it looks like. It looks like what you feel it looks like. You have an inkling of yourself. And that self is fucking unique. Someone had said to Roxanne, you are 99.9% Sly, except Sly is Sly and you are you. She didn't understand that for the longest time because she was looking at it from an identity point of view until she worked through her identity and then she finally figured it out. It's the vibration of expression. the I don't give a fuck about you. I'm not going to hold anything back. She's the same. We have the same approach. We're fucking dragons that don't belong in the idea of a Bambi fucking candy and lollipop rainbow fucking unicorn gypsy fucking world. But those worlds are images. These are worlds that we have found as ourselves in the everlasting discovery and ever-changing self. But there's always a uniqueness to the singularity that is coveted by the singularity itself because it's the nature of it, but it demands it in no way. It doesn't need to work on it. It's what it is. So I'm Sly and Roxy's Roxy. Cepheus is Cepheus, Pi is Pi. You guys are you. But to discover that you got to stop using the human. We've said that before. We got to stop using the human. And that's a difficult thing to do because your mom and dad want you to be something. Because your employers are expecting. Don't you realize it's a bubble? Let me give you a piece of courage. It's a bubble, a tiny little fucking world. And you attract it. So I wouldn't worry about your job. I wouldn't worry about your rent. I wouldn't worry about anything. I wouldn't worry about what COVID's happening. I wouldn't worry about the next president. I wouldn't worry about anything outside. I would only focus on the joys of you. If the joy of you right now is to binge watch something on Netflix, then do that. But when in the moment Netflix becomes a habit, choose it not. In the moment it's not a habit, but you're inspired to watch Netflix, then choose it. See, it's not what you're choosing to do in definition. It's the relationship to the choice of the now that creates your reality. Not in the idea of creating your fucking bullshit objects. It's the relationship that attracts your reality. And it's attracting a reality of change if you let it. It comes in its natural time, not expected time. So you got to get good with natural timing. And it's not done in the human timeline of urgency. Because if you have forever, what's the fucking rush? You can't run out of time. You can be 50 for 30 years. Because the memory is created in the moment and you're still 50 30 years later. Your body's still 50 30 years later. But your wisdom is 30 years later. That's what you got to see. So when you start running up against standards and you start to notice those standards, well, you can break them down so you can go to this edge of the self that is not bound by any law, save the 5 laws of the universe, and those aren't binding. Those are the abilities of you. Your existence as opposed to non-existence. Your here and now creates all theirs and thens, right? The law of attraction, you guys know it well. The singularity of the all and all isn't couched in you. So there's no more defining a ladder. The only reason why you're in the third density is because that's the co-created reality, but the third density doesn't exist as a standard. It's a created, co-created moment. And it could be as tiny as the idea of the molecular breakdown of your fucking nail, and could be as large as the Akashic universe, your bubble, because size is created as well. So when you start coming along the finites, even though you have no freaking idea in this memory of what you are truly looking at, go ahead and accept it and have the courage to choose what's available for you. And the appetite, Miriam said, waking up in the dream inside of a dream. Scary. Very good, Miriam. So the appetite, that appetite, that spinning vortex of to grab that thing that is no longer, or to allow that thing of unknowable to come. See, let's offer you this. Let's offer you the exploration of now. We have to use Roxy as an example because this conveys in human terms. So we're going to. So in January, she weighed 140 pounds, and now she weighs 110. But she's lighter. You get that? She shed vibration, so the body acts the same. She still eats. She's still healthy. But she's 110, 111 pounds, depending on if she went to the bathroom that morning or not. That's not a miracle, that's a relationship. And it's not about your weight. It's about your relationship to enlightenment. It doesn't mean your body gets bigger or smaller. Don't go there. This is a singular truth. It has nothing to do with the definition. It has everything to do, greetings Annette, it has everything to do with yourself. We give you an example of enlightenment, but that's not for you to copy or go after. It's for you to feel the relationship of Roxanne choosing a different reality. See, that's the unknown, like the language of Parisian. You're trying to use your memory on how that's going to be. Don't use your memory. Use your intuition of the now and then take the journey of truths. And when you discover the truth that is a rung of the ladder, have the courage to let it go. Let go of the whole self. Let go of needing that. When Roxanne teaches you to talk to the whole self, you're talking to you. And then when you choose to be you, then the whole self is no longer, because you're now knowing you've always been I am. You are one and all. Amazing. Anyways, so I'd like to, I want you to see that we don't offer you a purpose. I want you to know that this is undiscovered country. No one's ever done it this way. And no one will ever do it this way. And there's going to be 1,000 other ways to do it. But they're not yours. And they're not the right way and they're not the wrong way. They're ways. I'm wondering if you can find your way. Well, of course you can. Otherwise you can't be having this conversation with me. Maybe in a different now you would have this conversation. I don't know. Once you match that vibration. But we're not talking about the vibration of another now. We're talking about now. So all that imagery, all that stuff that you're distracting yourself with is keeping you the idea of human. And that's not right or wrong. That's fucking choice. Choice creates reality because vibration chosen is the discovery of yourself. So if you're choosing your memory to discover, then you're doing that. And using the memory, although it's something new, it's still the memory conceiving itself on what you think is new. But the relationship, the feeling, the fucking feeling is the human same feeling. Is it still success? Is it still hope? Is it still admiration? Is it still envy? Is it still sloth? Is it still wrath? Is it still fucking everything of pride? Is it? Well, if it is, then it's human. That's not right or wrong. That's fucking choice, which creates reality. Who's done this before? Who's ascended? How many of you guys are looking at the glory of ascended masters? I wonder if the Christ conscience, Yeshua, considered himself an ascended master. Everyone knows that he was never crucified, that there was an impostor put into place, even as written in the Bible, which for some reason slipped past the popes of reality to give you the concept that even his own mother says, I don't know you. You are not my son. Yet Christ conscious was crucified and played a game out. Is that fascinating? Does it matter? Forget the distractions. I'm talking about the Christ conscious. Do you think he goes around? Or who's objectifying him as an ascended master? Your memory. Time. See, the DNA that you have in you would be considered a memory because it's an insurmountable of information packed on by a space-time continuum of an infinite number of collapsed timelines, of an infinite number of human experiences, all encouched in one little strand of DNA. It's an endless because it's not any size. There's no end to it, right? So you have all that information, and that information is discovered in the now, and the now is the journey. So if you start focusing on yourself now, you start to uncover portions of yourself that might want to take you on a magical mystery tour. You get fascinated with it. It took a while for Roxanne to understand her relationship with Esmeralda, which is, of course, a self in her DNA. Let me talk about that. I got time. When you discover another self, it's this self that you are, but from an evolutionary point of view. See, Esmeralda is a 600-year-old witch that was an alchemist. So she lived 600 years, 600 plus, doesn't matter, on the planet of physical Earth and got very good at her alchemy and her craft. And that's why Roxanne's a kitchen witch, right? Because she opened up that memory vibration of the witch that she was in time, but that she is in the now as that self, right? But see, that self isn't going on from Roxanne's point of view because Roxanne is that self in evolution. So in time, stick with me now, in time, this was Roxanne, the truth, the singularity, just like I was 1,000 names. But I change, but I always am, I am. You can call me Sly, you can call me Ebenezer, you know, Ichabod. I was all those selves, but I'm still Sly. Roxanne's still Roxanne, but Roxanne was Esmeralda. But see, Esmeralda is a truth of Roxanne that is evolved, but not in the idea of higher or lower or better, in the idea of constant change, not defined, but evolution. But evolution occurs in the now, so it's not when, before, or after, until you apply that, and that's part of the ability to create in a space-time continuum, but that's not the standard. That's created. So therefore, you can see yourselves as part of your memory to understand your evolution in time. But Roxanne literally is Esmeralda now and Roxanne now, because there's no time between them until they create time. And that's what Roxanne used to discover Esmeralda. Not memory, because she can't use memory of Roxanne, because Roxanne's memory is 53 years old. Actually, a little bit less. She was a walk-in, about 7 years old or 5 years old. It's another story that she's grappling with. So when you discover vibration and worthiness and you get connected to that self, that's not a self to be a purpose. That's a self of material that is a vibration attraction, that is a conscious expression of an undefined vibration that Roxanne perceives as Esmeralda through the idea of connectivity in Roxanne's version of herself now for the experience of that unknowable truth now becoming known as attraction occurs. And then she trusts the vibration that has come into her and given her the fucking story. No effort. No effort. No fucking effort. She trusts and chooses the now. So she understands. She's written an entire spell book. She understands enchanting and conjuring and, of course, alchemy. But she's not an alchemist. Roxanne doesn't have the particular thrust to do that again, because it would be again, because she knows it. So she's using the attributes of Esmeralda's courage and wisdom and the knowledge that is applied to the new self called Roxanne from Esmeralda's point of view, but still the evolutionary Roxanne truth, which is the same self, but now just a different version of that continuous singularity. So Roxanne is exploring conjuring and enchanting in the crafting world on a physical reality. And your craft is whatever the fuck you want it to be, but it isn't defined. It's an expression. Sign language, learning Spanish, cooking, conjuring, enchanting, and of course the fucking flute, Roxanne, is her majestic. That's this life's expansion with the unknowable. So contained in Roxanne's social memory complex, DNA is an infinite number of lives. And as she chooses the worthiness of the human to remember the Creator, then she gains access through the combination lock of remembrance, and the lock is vibration. And that unlocks the DNA flow and the abilities return. But they take their time, and they're small little pieces. But you can't be fascinated with them. You can't be distracted by them. You can't be running around looking for the next shiny thing. And as soon as you grab it, then it just becomes bleh. Because it's empty, because you're looking at that as an object instead of subjective extension to explore. You're looking for it to do something for you. Nothing does everything for you. Everything is giving you your I am in the moment. So Roxanne's done a lot of work on her ego. She has a life that's exquisite. She went through the worthiness things of upgrading her life, 43 to 50-inch TV, 49-inch. Got a sound bar, got an Apple computer, maybe a Nintendo, got Tommy a couple new guitars and bass guitars, because she had to play out those physical upgrades, and the mattress, fucking phenomenal. Got a bench outside, got a couple little projects. The flute she's had for a few years. Thinking about a new flute. You know, they're going to run some money. She's looking at the money, 3,000, 2,000, 2,500. Then she looks at that money and she accepts it and then doesn't worry about it because it'll show up. So she understands the relationship with abundance, the patience of the now, the trust of the unknowable, and allowing things to happen. So what happens is she starts to explore the now, and she worked and worked and worked at the ego, and then she gave it to the people who chose to join in, and they found their love and their freedom, and they're infants and they're scared, but they're light now. And they took the classes with Roxanne, and they explored together, and la-di-da-di everyone. It fucking worked. But Roxanne can't keep working with the ego forever. It's like Max and Lucia. Whenever Max is still a student, but he's not working on the ego. Roxanne and Max are exploring the unknowable together. You know, it's just a choice. But see, the point is Max can go anywhere now forever because he knows I am. When you realize I am, there's nothing else for you to do except live. The destination becomes irrelevant. What's happening in definitions in time is not present because you're present and those things in time are not present. So you're in the now, so you don't have time to do anything. You have now to do all that is in the now. And whenever you're doing in the now is only your truth. So you never make time to do anything, ever. You don't need to make time to do something because that's not important. Because nothing is important. If you make something important and make time for it, you're fucking the goat. Be now, I am, trust, ego deconstruction, fear, loathing, torture, afraid of everything, loving the fear as an identity, needing that idea of victimization, trying to be an image of a fucking hero, a leader of the way. All of that's human. And when you let go of that, you're only going to be left with I am. And I am is all that fucking is. I'd say it's a good deal. My little fractal self, the little kid in New York, he died of COVID. But see, that wasn't me. It was the one I created. You think I own that fractal? Or did I express that fractal? You think you're owned by anyone? No. Now that self is going on and on. Going to choose another incarnation. It's nothing to do with me now. Because that's a singularity and I'm a singularity. Isn't that neat? If you let things go where they're going to go, through the intuition and choosing and courage of the now, you're going to get a reality that's better than any other fucking story you can imagine. Has nothing to do with motion in the idea of labeled emotion, and has everything to do with the constant change of the everlasting motion of life. And that doesn't fill the ego. That's why it feels empty at first and uncertain. Feels kind of fucking strange. Just like Roxanne goes, yeah, I know you're sly, but you're different. And well, of course I'm different. So is Roxy. And so are you.